Before we start this video, a large thank you to Rodrigo, Brooklyn, Connor, and Infinite Slayer for their support on Patreon. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And an immense thank you to Halo Burner and Kino for their immense support to the channel this month on Patreon. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello everybody, real fast restart. Go to the Fireball Manager. This part here where we're setting the velocity to the new velocity we created using the forward. Don't do that. That will make the Fireball kind of gain speed over time and act weird. That was a mistake on my end. It was taken from Nephilim. Should not have been put there. Also, don't reference the spell target transform. Reference the spell target character combat manager lock-on transform opposition. This will make it go towards the center of the enemy and not their feet. Alright, cool. With that being fixed now, let's jump over to the actual video topic, which is jumping attacks, heavy and light. So if you're using our animation sets, we have, for the heavy jumping attack, a charge, idle, and end. If you're using your own, you can cut them up if you want or drop them in how you see fit. So before I actually get to the topic of this video, right now I'm dragging in the animations and setting them up. Pause the video right now and go ahead and try to implement this on your own. Go and take a whack at it. It'll be a great learning experience. And I'm sure many of you watching this already have the knowledge to do so on your own. So just go do it just for the sake of seeing how you would do it. And maybe you would end up doing it similar to me or different. And then come back in the end if you want and just you can do it my way if you'd like. So go ahead, pause the video and do that now. Alright, so I'm going to drop in all the animations here. I got my main-handed and my two-handed. We're going to set it up for both since we do have two-handed in the game now. So what you want to do is get the charge, the idle, and the end for both in that order. When I say both, I mean both the two-handed and the main-handed sets. And we're just going to quickly change the names here. So I got main jumping heavy attack, main heavy jump attack 01, and then two-hand heavy jump attack 01. And then we're going to have main jump attack idle 01, and then two-hand jump attack idle 01, and then the same thing with end. Alright, so let's make our first transition from the start to the idle, and what we're going to check for is if we are grounded. And if we are not grounded, we're going to make sure we basically have exit time here, and we can change the transition's exit time to 1 and the transition duration 0 because these animations perfectly line up if you're using my animations. If you're not, you might want to use a blend if the animations don't perfectly line up, but these do, so you don't need to actually have any transition duration. Do the same thing here for the two-handed, obviously. And now go from the idle to the end. What you want to do is check for is grounded and on tick has exit time. And make this window very small, the duration in seconds, because you want it to snap. You want it to click here, like coming down with a lot of force. You can even put it 0 if you want, which is what I like doing personally. And then do the same thing over here. I'm going to set mine to 0, is grounded is equal to false, does not have exit time. And then lastly too, we're going to make one more transition, or is grounded to true, sorry. One more transition from the heavy attack start to the heavy attack end. And also we're going to want to make a transition back to empty, obviously, so we can keep doing stuff when that's over. So start to end, because you might actually finish the animation before you even get to the idle, which is the case a lot of the time. Most of the time, probably unless you're jumping off something. So is grounded is true, and you want to untick has exit time. And you also want to make this window, again, very narrow, or even non-existent if you want. It's up to you. You kind of just need to see for yourself how it's going to feel, because right now if this is a long transition, it's going to look really weird. You're going to slowly slide into the position when you're grounded, but when you're grounded you want it to feel like it's impactful and forceful, so you want to close this window here. And to close the window you can just use these two little blue arrows up top of that little transition window, or you can just edit the number itself there. So we'll test that in a minute and see how it feels. For now, let's jump over into the script. This is going to be heavy attack weapon item action, and I'm just going to duplicate some of the functionality we have here and kind of swap out what's inside with what we're going to use. So perform jump hand heavy attack. Jump hand heavy attack sounds very weird, so we're not going to call it that. I am going to call it perform main hand jumping heavy attack, and then we're also going to do the two-handed one in a minute, but first let's actually fill out the logic for this. So all we need to check for really is if we're performing an action, and if we are, we want to return. Otherwise we'd be able to spam this in the air, so we don't want to do that. So after we check that, all we're going to do is play an animation. Now, the attack type is going to be the heavy attack in the air, which we don't have made. So let's jump over to our enums. Bottom of our enum script, right down here, we should have a thing called, yes, there it is, attack type. Let's add one for the heavy jumping attack. And while we're at it too, let's actually add the light jumping attack so we don't have to come back here anymore during the video. So heavy jumping attack 01, and right above that I'm just going to make light jumping attack 01. Now, if you don't remember, these are used to actually deduct our stamina values and modify our damage, because each attack type drains a different amount of stamina and does a different amount of damage. So let's actually feed that into there now. This is going to be heavy jumping attack 01, and we're calling play target attack action animation. Let's scroll up to the top now and make a couple variables, or rather, yeah, a couple. We need one for the one-handed heavy jumping attack, which I will call heavy underscore jumping underscore attack 01. And then we need to do the same for the two-handed jumping attack. So we can do the same thing and follow our naming conventions, just add a TH in front of that, underscore. And now just setting your animation names. It's the starting animation you want. So for me, that's heavy underscore, or sorry, main underscore heavy jump attack 01, underscores for each of those words. And the two-handed version, just replace main with TH capital. Okay, now make sure you put your variable here for the name of the attack. And next we're going to set up the two-handed version, but also how we're calling this. So up here, attempt to perform action. You can see where we have a check for if we're grounded return. Open that up now, because we're going to, instead of just returning, we're also going to play this new attack animation. Now you could just do a if player is two-handing weapon, blah, 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 then do your two-handed version, else your main-handed version. But you can see here we have it set up in a bit of a cleaner way, so we're just going to follow the way we did it before. We're just going to make 3 separate functions. One that will choose between main-handed and two-handed, and then the main-handed function and the two-handed function. So we can again copy what we've done in the past. So I'm going to make a private void. We have perform heavy attack. I'm going to say perform jumping heavy attack. So I can just copy this, because what we need is the same, the player performing the action and the weapon performing the action. So perform jumping heavy attack, just like that. All right, cool. Now let's just paste our newly created function here. So if we're not two-handing, we're performing the main jumping attack. And now let's make a version of the two-handed jumping attack, which is going to be identical, except we're going to instead reference the two-handed jumping attack animation. So set that up accordingly. So if you're two-handing the weapon, you're doing the two-handed jumping attack. Otherwise, you're doing the one-handed jumping attack. And now we just call our new function here. So perform jumping heavy attack. So we're not quite done, because there's a few little weird things that can happen now if we ran it like it was, or like it is rather. Nothing game breaking, but stuff you don't want. So right now, if we are jumping and we do the heavy attack before we're off the ground, we'll actually do a heavy attack in the air, and that's not good. That's bad. You'll do a standard heavy attack in the air. Let's also tighten up these animation transitions so it's really snappy. Again, play with this in game. You don't need to copy me exactly, unless you like how mine looks, but you might have a preference other than me. I want it to be short and snappy. All right, cool. So we can get rid of this is attacking value and setting it to true too. To make it easier, we can just go to play target attack animation, and we can set is attacking to true here. That way we don't have to set it up in every individual function, because if we're attacking, we're always calling this play target attack action animation. So it's just easier to call this one time here instead of calling it multiple times through other item actions. All right, we can save that. Now let's go back here. What we're going to do now is we're going to make a check to see if we're jumping, as I just said before. And if we are jumping, we're going to make this check right before the heavy attack animation. We're going to return. We don't want to do any kinds of attacks. If we're jumping, make sure this is after we've checked for our jumping attack. So that'll stop us from doing a heavy attack if we time it perfectly in the air. We only want to do aerial attacks from the air. All right, now if we go into the game here now, I can jump up and boom, that looks beautiful actually. But we have a slight problem. If I were to move forward while doing this, we actually get a bit of a slide. So you see this? But this is an easy fix. We've already had this problem before. Go to where we end it and just add our reset is jumping script to the animation states on our attack ending. Now if we go and jump and move, boom, right there, it stops solid as a rock right when that animation begins. Because we did the same thing for jumping in the past, and that looks really nice actually. All right, cool. Next, let's go over to our jumping light attack, our regular light attack, and copy the animation events, and then go back to our jumping heavy attack and paste them. Now, personally, I like opening, we can get rid of the combo check. I like opening the collider and deducting the stamina on the charge, so the wind up right at the end of it, like that. And then I like closing the damage collider right when it ends, but a couple frames after. You can see why. Let me just show you here. Hang on. So I'm just going to delete this closed damage collider, and we're going to move it to the end. Let's just look up main end. There we go. And you can see there's a little bit of a pop right there. So right when that pop ends, that's where I like putting it. That's where I close it. All right, now let's go over to the two-handed and do the exact same thing. So since I've already got the closed damage glider copied, I'll just start with the end. You can see this little pop right there. Boom. That's where the pop ends. That's where you want to put it. And then also likewise, let's go and grab our copy and paste our deduct stamina and open damage glider and put it at the beginning. And now if I just run in this gentleman's head, boom, bop him, broke his poise, and then we're going to do a riposte and kill him. That looks and feels really good. Awesome. All right, cool. So let's keep moving along here now. We can do the jumping light attack, and then we can test them all in sequence. So I'm going to jump back into my animator, drag in my singular animation for a main jump light attack 01. Now this one needs to translate back to the jumping state, or at least that's the best way to do it. So I'm going to call this main light jump attack 01, and let's go and drag our jumping over here. So you can make another set of animation states for jumping if you want and just copy them, so you have to drag them over here. Basically just be the same animations. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to drag these over here. It does start to make the animator window look a little bit less clean, but right now it's still fine. Everything's still legible, so that's fine. All right, make a transition from the jump light attack to the jump idle. Make the check for is grounded being false, and make sure you make that window tighter. So then make a transition back to the main jump attack and make a check for is grounded being true. Again, make that window nice and tighter so you don't get like a floaty feeling. You want that transition to be snappy. So I am going to add some animation events to this now. Now we're going to go over to the light attack weapon action. I'm going to make a new variable under the light attacks for the main light jumping attack 01. And we're going to do basically the same thing we did with the heavy attacks. So if you want to do that right now and pause it and go ahead and set it up, go for it. We just want to set up a function and do a check and, do everything we've done before with the heavy attack, but just using the light attack now instead. So that's the nice thing about these weapon actions is they kind of behave identically. The only thing that changes is some variations through how the animations behave. But the attack actions themselves are pretty much identical. Alright, let's add one for the two-handed version as well. Change the main to th underscore. Add the th in front of it. Keep our naming conventions the same. Looks very good. Now I'm going to scroll down here and we're going to implement the functionality. We can do that by copying these three functions. Perform light attack, perform main-handed, and heavy. And we can get rid of that setting our is attack into true as well because we do that now in the animator. And we can open up the is grounded and keep the return here. And I'll just make a comment here for now and do the jumping attack. Okay. Also, let's make a check here while we're here. If we're performing a jump, we're just going to simply return. Make sure this check is after you check to do the jumping attack itself. Scroll down here. Perform light attack, main-handed light attack, and two-handed light attack. Copy all those. Paste. We can kind of get rid of everything inside these last two. I'm just going to add the keywords to these first. Jumping. So I'm going to put perform jumping right after the perform word. Or the hand, sorry, and the other two as well. So the first one's perform jumping light attack, then it's perform two-handed jumping light attack, then perform main hand jumping light attack. Alright, cool. Now that we have that all set up, we can get rid of everything inside main hand and two-handed jumping attack. And honestly, to speed up the process, we can just copy what's inside our heavy attack here and just change the heavy jumping attack to light jumping attack. And do the same thing for the two-handed version down here. Just going to copy and paste this. And then light becomes two-handed underscore light. Alright, that looks good. Now let's call our perform jumping light attack up here where we have that comment / pseudocode. Right up here, just like that. Pass our player performing action and our weapon performing action. And just to stay in the same style too, I am going to make a comment above this because it is nice when you're doing a quick glance. You can see what everything is. The green really sticks out. So if you're in the air, we're going to perform a jumping attack. Jumping / aerial attack, whatever you want to call it. And I will put this comment as well on the heavy version. So I'm just going to go over there real fast and drop that in. It is just very nice. Helps separates it too at a quick glance, I find. Alright, save. Now let's go into the game. I forgot to add my transition here, so make sure when you go to end, you're adding is grounded is equal to true, and you're disabling has exit time. That's very important. Make sure you're doing that. So, boom, you can see if you don't disable has exit time, you get that floatiness to it. So what you want to do is untick has exit time, Go back into the game. Boom. You can see that is very instant. Looks very nice. That is very, very nice looking. Rob did a great job in these animations. All right. Jump. Boom. There we go. So what's this used for? Because I'm going a bit higher. Well, you can see Dirk in the background. He's quite a bit taller than me, as most bosses are in Elden Ring games and games like this. So this is a really good one just to, if I go and start this boss fight real fast, you can just jump up here and boom, right in the face. Very quick. We can dodge him. Get back up, boom, right in the face with a heavy attack. Real nice. That does feel really great, actually. So we're not deducting any stamina right now, though, from these attacks, which is why I'm able to do them so easily without having to wait very long with such a small stamina bar. So let's go ahead and fix that. Now, again, pause the video. You know how to do this. Go and deduct stamina with these attacks, and then change your damage based on the attacks. All right, player combat manager. We don't have an enum for this, or no, we already made that. It's my bad. We did make that earlier in the video. So let's add in the light jumping attack 01 and the heavy jumping attack 01. Now, you can make your own stamina modifiers. I'll just jump to the weapon and show you this. Weapon item. Let's jump over here. You can make your own stamina modifiers for these, but since the jump already costs something, I'm just going to use the basic light and heavy attack stamina modifiers, but I will give them their own attack modifiers. So, light attack, going to copy that. It's going to be light jump attack 01 modifier. This is the attack modifier again. But like I said, since using a jump costs stamina, I am just going to give it the basic light and heavy attack stamina modifiers, because you're already losing some for the jump itself. So heavy jump attack 01 modifier, say 1.8, and I'll give the light attack one a bit less of 1.0 because it's very fast, kind of OP. Don't want to make it too powerful. And I will keep the stamina modifiers the same. So we're going to go back now to my light attack. Nope, sorry, the player combat manager. And first I'm going to deduct stamina with the light jumping attack by using the light attack stamina cost multiplier. Not to be confused with the light attack damage modifier, which I just accidentally used. So this one right here. Now I'm going to go over to the heavy attack, or create it rather, the heavy jumping attack. Do the same thing. So attack type becomes heavy jumping attack 01. And then I am going to use the heavy attack stamina cost multiplier. Cool, save that. Now let's go figure out where we apply these damage modifiers, which is on the melee weapon damage collider, if those of you who remember. So you can see here, apply attack damage modifiers is what we call. This is actually used on damage target. So right down here, we can just copy one of these here and make the new case types for this switch statement. So we're going to use light jumping attack, and then we can use a new modifier. But you're going to see a problem here. It doesn't exist yet on the damage collider. So if I go to type in light jump attack 01 modifier, we don't actually have that yet, but don't worry, we're going to make that in a second. Let's do the same thing for the heavy. So I'm going to make it right after the heavy attack 02. This is going to become heavy jumping attack 01. Do the same thing for a modifier that doesn't quite exist yet. Now it does exist in the weapon, but remember, we copy the data from the weapon to the variables here locally on the melee weapon damage collider. So you can see here they are weapon attack modifiers. So create these, call them the same thing you called them in the weapon item, or something different if you prefer for some reason, but I like giving them the same name. Makes the most sense to me because it's the exact same piece of data, just in a different place. And now we're going to figure out where we call these. I actually don't remember, so let's use find all references, and this is on the, okay, so the weapon manager. So let's go open up the weapon manager script here, and then let's go down and just add these. So melee weapon damage collider.light jumping attack 01 modifier is equal to the weapon that we're passing, and then we reference the light jumping attack 01 modifier that we just created. And again, melee weapon damage collider.heavy jump attack modifier is equal to the weapon.heavy jump attack modifier that we just created. And that is basically it. That should be working now as intended. Now, let's save this, go back into the game. I'm going to do a running and jumping attack, and this gentleman break his posture. I am then going to stab him in the chest. That's going to kill him. I'm going to run in now and start a fight with Dirk because I'm feeling angry at Dirk. Now I'm noticing that my stamina is getting drained a lot faster, so I really can't do many of these right now. You can see I'm at empty stamina. And as someone pointed out, Elden Ring actually doesn't really have a downtime for your stamina to regenerate. So if you want it to be like Elden Ring, you can remove that timer. Basically, as soon as you're not performing an action, it will start regenerating instantly. So this is kind of extra punishing. I actually removed the timer in Nephilim. So if you like the timer, keep it. It does slow down the combat a lot. If you want to make it more fast-paced, just remove it. That's the cool thing about that. You can kind of do what you want. It just adds a different feel of the gameplay. Both are valid approaches. Now, a little remark on jumping. So I'm sure some of you have probably noticed now, you can jump on characters' heads, and you can kind of just stay there. It's a little bit weird. You can also jump on geometry in kind of a weird way. If you've played the Nephilim demo out on Steam, by the way, you probably would notice that you slide off people's heads and you can't actually get on weird geometry just like Elden Ring. I will cover that in the future. It's more of a polish element, but that is something we're going to actually look into. We're going to basically add a few variables to what happens when you're in the air and how you calculate sliding off of things and slippery surfaces and other characters and all that stuff. So someone requested archery. So if you guys have no objections to that, or you don't want to see anything different, in the next video, we're going to start our archery system. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me again this weekend. I hope you all have a very lovely weekend. And a special thank you to my patrons. It is because of each and every one of you I get to keep doing this, so you have my sincerest gratitude. Once again, I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I will see you guys next week.